What's going on, everyone? It's Wednesday, March 23rd, and we're back at it again with another episode of the Hustle Daily Show. I'm Zachary Crockett. I'm here with Rob Litterst.
What's up, Zach?
And we've got our Director of Trends, Steph Smith, back with us.
Hey guys, good to be here.
Today, we're talking in-flight Wi-Fi. It sucks, and I think we can all agree on that. But Starlink, that's SpaceX's satellite internet division, they're working on a potential solution. We're going to get into why the current services are so bad and why SpaceX thinks the industry is ripe for an overhaul. Also on the agenda, the role Substack is going to play or maybe not play in the future of media. But before we get into that, let's do the news.
Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about HubSpot. If you're hustling in the trenches to build a business or bootstrapping one of your own, let's talk about an AI-powered tool that can lighten up your workload a bit. HubSpot's Campaign Assistant is a game changer for creating marketing campaigns at scale. It quickly turns your key selling points into a cohesive pitch, which helps you deliver knockout emails, ads, and landing pages in minutes. So let Campaign Assistant take care of the campaigns so you can get back to growing your business. Work smarter, not harder at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
The SEC proposed a new set of climate rules that would provide more transparency into how public companies are tackling the climate crisis. The rules would require reporting on emissions directly from a company, but also emissions resulting from that company's suppliers and partners. And lastly, a little more drama brewing over at BuzzFeed. The website's editor-in-chief, Mark Shoofs, and two other top editors are stepping down. The news comes in the midst of a subpar financial performance. The company's earnings fell 12% at the end of last year, and it's expected to lose around 15 to 20 million in the first quarter of this year. The head honchos there are blaming it on Facebook's declining audience. All right, let's get into the good stuff. So to start off here, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on in-flight Wi-Fi. Like, for me, it's so bad that I don't even attempt to use it when I get on an airplane.
Yeah, so whether or not I use in-flight Wi-Fi completely depends on whether or not I have pressing work to do. If I have pressing work to do, I'm 100% going to try to use it, even though it sucks, and I know it's kind of like a 50-50 coin flip if it's going to work or not. But if I do not have pressing work, I am 100% a shut off Wi-Fi, read a book, and just disconnect for the flight type person.
That's so funny because I never use in-flight Wi-Fi. I didn't even know it was that terrible because I feel like there's just an element of like pricing psychology, the same way that people didn't want to spend more than 99 cents on an app. I'm like, I'm not paying $10 for Wi-Fi on a plane. Like something about it, just I've never done it, and I probably will eventually. I'll get over that hump, but that's something that I've actually never done.
Zach, do you use it?
No, I'm totally in the same boat as Steph here. I refuse to pay. I mean, I won't even spend $10 on a t-shirt, so I'm not going to spend $10 on in-flight Wi-Fi. But it just like never really seems to function or work. So Rob, I'm curious to start us off here. Who are the current major players? Who are the people controlling the skies, so to speak, right now?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of players in in-flight Wi-Fi. The two leaders, at least in the US market, are Viasat and GoGo, which is actually owned by another company, or at least their aviation connectivity or internet Wi-Fi division is owned by Intelsat. The weird thing about in-flight Wi-Fi is I think maybe in some cases there are exclusive agreements with one or the other, but a lot of airlines use both. And it feels almost kind of like, I know we've covered this before, but how Boeing and Airbus like kind of have a duopoly and are totally fine with not really taking over the entire market because this relationship that they have with each other allows them to like kind of control prices with, and that's with airplanes. It kind of seems like something a little similar is going on with in-flight Wi-Fi. But generally speaking, what I was able to find is Viasat is mainly used by Delta, which used to use GoGo. It powers JetBlue's in-flight Wi-Fi and Virgin Airlines. GoGo powers United, American Airlines, and Alaska Airlines.
And how does this Wi-Fi typically work?
The interesting thing about in-flight Wi-Fi is there are a couple different ways to access it. The more traditional method is towers on the ground, which is similar to the internet that we use in our regular lives at home. Or you can use satellites in the sky. Satellite connectivity tends to be better than the towers on the ground, which is why more and more planes have transitioned to this satellite model. And that's really kind of where Starlink comes into this conversation. Obviously, Starlink's entire business is satellite-powered internet. So A lot of planes have transitioned to satellites. Smaller planes cannot get fitted for the transponders or whatever they're called that actually connect them to satellite Wi-Fi. So some of them still use towers to power their in-flight Wi-Fi. But generally speaking, it comes from those two places.
So this is obviously a huge market. I think a recent report valued the sector around $3 billion, but it's predicted that in-flight Wi-Fi could grow to around $6.7 billion in 2027. So there's a huge market here. And, SpaceX and Starlink obviously see this opportunity. But how does Starlink differ from the competition? What exactly is their promise of disrupting this market?
Yeah, so there are two really big advantages, hypothetically, the Starlink has. We'll see how it all bears out if they actually go through with this. But first of all, Starlink has satellites that orbit closer to Earth than Gogo or Viasat, which just gives them closer proximity to planes, which could mean faster Wi-Fi speeds if they do ultimately roll out this in-flight Wi-Fi. The other thing is Starlink has 2,000 satellites in the sky right now. Sometimes when you get a lag in your in-flight Wi-Fi, it's because the coverage that you're getting is moving from one satellite to the other. And just for comparison's sake, looking at Viasat, they operate 4 satellites in the sky, and Gogo operates around 25, or they draw their Wi-Fi from around 25. So obviously Starlink with 2,000 satellites has a lot more coverage, the opportunity to have a lot better connectivity for global flights. I'm sure there are nuances there. I would imagine that the satellites that Viasat and Gogo are operating are differentiated in some way from Starlink's, but those are on paper kind of the two biggest advantages that Starlink has.
Sure.
I wonder if these airlines just haven't found the right business model for in-flight Wi-Fi. I don't know if it's 100% correct, but the Wall Street Journal predicts that around 6 to 7% of passengers are buying in-flight Wi-Fi. But there was another Forbes article said that 85% of passengers surveyed said that they would use the Wi-Fi if it was free. And so I wonder if they're just positioning this wrong, right? I assume that it's quite expensive for the airline, and so they're looking for that money back immediately. But I wonder if they could provide the Wi-Fi for free and just have a heavily ad-based model. I mean, one of the most lucrative parts of an ad-based model in an airplane is that you have that person's full attention, right? They're not driving along the highway seeing, a billboard. They are fully captive in whatever you show them. And so maybe these airlines just need to partner with the right partners who want that captive attention in order to provide that Wi-Fi for free. Because I don't know, do you guys agree if Wi-Fi was free and decent on an airplane, would you prefer that, or would you still, go for your book or the movie on your screen?
Oh, yeah. Well, Wi-Fi is free on JetBlue flights, and that is one of the reasons that I fly JetBlue. If I know that I'm going to need to get stuff done, I will 100% fly JetBlue because of that. So I would totally do that. I love that idea, Steph. That feels like a much better path to getting from 3 billion to 6.7 billion than just jacking up the prices. I mean, that because right now people already complain about the prices. I don't really see them being able to charge too much more than $10 for a flight. I feel like that's intuitive, Steph. That makes a lot of sense.
One of the things I was curious about is how this particular study projected that this in-flight Wi-Fi market would double in the next, 5 years? It surprised me a little bit because business travel is not dead, but it has been on the decline. And you're seeing that be replaced with more recreational travel. And from my personal, very anecdotal experience, people are less likely to use the Wi-Fi on a recreational trip. I'm curious to know what the driving forces are for this in-flight Wi-Fi market growing.
Yeah.
It's a really good question. You mentioned the ad model, Steph, which I think makes a ton of sense. I also feel like there's a big difference between, $10 for internet for a flight and $0 for a flight. So I think there is a chance for them, even if they lower prices to, $5 for a flight or whatever it might be, for them to get deeper penetration into actual passengers and actually get more people to use in-flight Wi-Fi. But I don't know. It's a really good question.
I didn't even think about that calculus, but $10 to spend on Wi-Fi in a flight clearly is not a crazy amount, but there is just that psychological blocker. And so I wonder if more airlines took the JetBlue model where they could just tack on that $10, and I don't think their conversion rate in buying the ticket would change that much, but then they would become this airline that provides unlimited Wi-Fi for all passengers for free. I wonder if that would actually be a strong differentiator that wouldn't offset the economics very much.
Totally. Or make it part of like your flyer rewards program, which I would imagine somebody's doing that right now, but that just feels super intuitive to me too.